It is possible. We aren't stuck with our thinking, our thoughts, our habits, anything in our life. We are stuck with nothing but what we are choosing. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast empowering empathic women who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their intuition, begin to trust their sensitivities, find inner clarity, and show up with embodied, unstoppable confidence in their daily lives. I am your host, Olivia Ashley, an empath and intuitive, and I am so happy you're here. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Intuition Unlocked. It's Olivia here. I am so happy that you're joining us on this really important topic today because let's get real, hustle culture is draining us and it's doing much more harm than good. If you've ever been feeling exhausted, disconnected from yourself, or uncertain about what's next, there's a reason for it. I think hustle culture doesn't just affect your energy, it drowns out your intuition, your inner guidance, and that is truly what we need to begin thriving. So today we're exploring why hustle culture silences your inner voice and how you can reset your life, reclaim your intuitive power, and create a life that feels truly aligned and fulfilling. My goal here is not to vilify hustle culture, but it's to lift the lid on the injustices I see it's giving us and the pressures it's putting on us, because I truly believe that we can create a harmonious life. And I think where we start is by starting to listen within, by starting to trust yourself, by saying, I have power, I have a voice, I have needs that are unique to myself, and I have a purpose here. And so a lot of us are stuck in that reactive, pay the bills, make sure we are just existing and surviving place in life. And I've been there. I still happen to fall into that category every so often. And yet I have come so far and learned so much. And a lot of that stems from beginning to listen to my intuition, beginning to trust those nudges, take actions, change my life, change my health. And my life has changed in the most miraculous of ways. So that's my goal today. Let's get you excited about your life once more. So in this episode, you will learn these three things for sure. Firstly, how hustle culture disrupts your connection to your intuition, health, and overall well-being. Secondly, what it means to deprogram from the hustle and embrace a life that aligns with your soul's true intentions. And thirdly, practical steps to reframe your life through intentional choices, habits, and a lifestyle that makes room for your intuition to thrive. So I think I want to start with what is hustle culture and why do I see it draining and disconnecting us from our intuition? I really see hustle culture as that 24/7 grind, the sleep when you're dead mindset and mentality that has become so normalized. We often don't even realize its toll on our mental and emotional and physical well-being, let alone our spiritual well-being. You know, we are born into this world, especially us in the United States, in the Western cultures. I mean, we're all facing different things and we are very privileged here in the US. I completely understand that. And yet, I think with that privilege comes our need to step forward and say, while we have so much, we have so many things at our fingertips, we have opportunities, look at all the beautiful comforts that we get. We are not in survival. We are allowed food, water, clean beds for the most of us. And yet there is this really deep, overwhelming sickness, I think mentally, emotionally, all four bodies that we are seeing. We are such an unhealthy country, culture, people. I mean, a lot of us are masking it, covering it. We don't want to think we are. And yet I'm the first to say, I've played the game. I still try to play the game. I have done my best to create a life that looks culturally sound and acceptable and like this is what you do. And yet I have found myself time and time again being depressed, being anxious, being sick, being unhappy, overwhelmed, exhausted. The list goes on and on. And so I began to realize there is something much more than this. There is something much grander. We were not just put on this earth to have to grind and push to make things happen. That's a mindset shift. When you start shifting your mindset, your world starts to shift around it because we are at our essence, frequency and energy, like attracts like. And so you start to have those reflections coming back to us. So this constant push for productivity, it doesn't just exhaust us in this physical sense. It is touching every corner of our lives. And in effort to keep up, we start making choices out of convenience rather than in genuine support of our well-being and needs. And our habits, our food choices, sleep, self-care, relationships, and ultimately I see our joy and our zest for life beginning to suffer. I've really noticed that when we operate in this way, when I feel into other people, when I talk to my friends, we're all in this sense of autopilot, just responding to life. We are reacting rather than sitting, connecting, and intuitively understanding what it is that we need. What do we want? How do we rest? And I see that deep inner guidance as being key to our overall joy, well-being, harmony, success in this life. While some people might claim that they thrive in this mindset of hustle, I personally don't know a single woman or mother who feels fully healthy, excited, and well because of their constant grinding. Like, we can do those things. I think there's a time and a space to be like, I have a lot I'm going to get done. I have the momentum. I have the drive. And so I do it that day. But it's the never-ending consistency where we have lost sight. We need times for balance, to rest, to slow down, to come back to center. So then once again, we can move back into that doing, creating space. For most of us, I think we yearn for this freedom, for this wellness. And we often wonder, is there even other paths possible outside of the ones we are shown? We're somewhat trapped in a cycle of endless tasks and rushing from one thing to the next. And our minds become crammed with all these to-do lists. We're stuck in this box, feeling tethered to the reality of what our lives are in this moment. And so when we have no room for rest, for reflection, for stillness, we don't get to hear our intuitive voice. We don't get to fully hear and know what our body is trying to tell us. Hey, you need more sleep. Hey, I really need you to rest and recover this day. Hey, I really need more bone broths and nourishment. Hey, I really need to go see that friend and just be held and supported. Instead, we just pack our days with what we think we need to do. And oftentimes we do need to do those. And yet, do we? I feel like when I think about this hustle culture and trying to hear our inner voice, which really should be the driving force of our days and of the creation of our life, it's like the hustle culture makes it nearly impossible to honor. And it's like it's a speeding train with our intuition patiently waiting at each stop. Like, hey, I'm here. I have something to share. Let me get on board. And we're like, nope, we're just going to keep zooming past. We'll get you next time, hopefully. And our intuition's like, what the hell? And so they start throwing stones on the tracks and they start throwing like water and fire into it to be like, I got to slow this train down. How do I slow it down? And so we need space to begin to be able to slow down. It's in those quiet moments where we give our intuition a voice and an opening. Yet when hustle becomes a norm, that inner voice gets muted and it pulls us from clarity, from being able to make genuine decisions and have a grounded sense of self. And the more we ignore this, the more we allow this speeding train to keep going, not only do we become more disconnected from our intuition, but we become disconnected from who we truly are, the lives we would like to live, and our well-being that we are not supporting or building. I see this as our souls did not come here in these bodies to hustle endlessly, to grind ourselves down and live in a constant state of stress or overwhelm. We came here as creators to explore, to grow, to experience life fully. We're here to love, to lose, to learn, to reflect, to try again, to fail, to succeed, and to feel everything in between. Taking a step back and viewing life from this higher perspective often helps me begin to shift everything. When I remember this bigger purpose and this zoom out, I stop taking these stressors so seriously. I stop feeling like I need to be a part of this hustle culture, and I start to feel more grounded and in control. So I really urge you to give yourself a moment of stillness each day, even just 5 to 10 minutes of quiet, of journaling, of a walk, of sitting in silence, of sitting in a bath, in the shower, can really start to bring your intuition back to the surface. And so what is an alternative to this hustle? Because I don't, again, want to fully vilify and say, you can't hustle and have a good life. I think there are some who can thrive in that manner, but I don't think that's the norm. And I also don't think that my way is the only way, but I want to share some of my way so you can understand a different perspective and start to challenge what you're working with and living in and create something that works for you. I believe a core piece of this and an alternative to this lifestyle of hustle is about starting to live with intention, intuition, and mindfulness. It is a lifestyle shift that balances our ambitions with wellness by resetting our baseline habits, goals, and values to align with something more fulfilling. You don't have to abandon goals or hard work if they're meaningful to you, but it does mean examining your habits, people, and choices in your life and making sure that they genuinely support your well-being rather than simply existing out of convenience or cultural expectation. So on my own journey, I've challenged the idea that an abundant and successful life only comes from relentless hustle and pushing through. In fact, I really believe there are countless ways to create a fulfilling life that will allow for my joy and alignment and peace, even if it doesn't fit cultural norms. I am the first to say I have been the black sheep of my family. I have been the wild child. I have been the one that is crazy and radical and out there, and I'm here for it. I own it. I love it. That's why I can confidently talk about these topics, because I am so solid and sure in my own self, and I'm constantly reassessing. I'm constantly learning and growing and refitting what fits, what doesn't, and going from there. I'm not afraid of change. I'm not afraid of learning something new that completely shakes me. And so I think having a mindset like that can absolutely help you. And I also, though, think that it's been one of my biggest challenges in this life, because I am someone that is so quick to refuse, to be uncomfortable, to not be happy, to not feel well. It's like, nope, screw that. What needs to change and how can I change it? So my own path has not been a one-size-fits-all answer, but it's really been a story and a journey of trying to do it all, to fit in the mold, to raise a family, to keep up, and being pretty much broken from that mindset and those choices. So at that point, I really had nothing to lose, and I began making intentional changes. So when I look back at my early adulthood, what first started to shift for me was my health. I was never feeling well. I really struggled emotionally, physically, and so I prioritized nutrition and finding exercise modalities that actually nourished me and made me feel strong versus depleted me and wore me out. Later, as I became a mother and we were growing our family, my husband and I made the decision for him to stay home with our children. So one of us could be raising them and be a part of their life. That's when we immediately knew we were going to most likely homeschool or find a way to be a part of our kids' education and their growth as children and adults. And then when my full-time office job was draining my energy, I was not doing well physically, mentally, I made a change and I moved to a remote position. And eventually, when our moldy apartment and just push and grind was not feeling good as a young family, and we did not see the light at the end of the tunnel, we said, hey, a dream has always been to travel. So we got an old RV, renovated it, and took off on the road for half a year because it better suited our well-being and lifestyle. So through each hardship and illness or overwhelming moment, the core piece of my whole story has been I chose to listen to my intuition. Every time I trusted those nudges that were saying, hey, this isn't right, this isn't working, there's something different out there for you. And I listened. I cultivated that deep sense of clarity and confidence because every time I would feel that way, and then I'd put the work in, and eventually something would change and I'd feel better. It's like, dang, look at that. We did that. I listened. Good things came from it. My life became richer, more supportive, more meaningful. I began noticing beautiful synchronicities, just random meetings of people who played pivotal moments and parts of my life, of books, of knowledge, of places and experiences that just were unreal. And so a flow came that I never had before. And I felt better. I could make healthier choices. I could instill habits that fueled me, and super simple ones. I'm not sitting meditating all day, but I start and end my day with intention and support and guidance. I listen to the nudges. So I really encourage you to trust that your intuition can guide you even through the unknown. When I started rejecting the hustle, embraced slower, intentional living, things fell into place, and they're still falling into place. It's not perfect. I'm not exactly where I want to be, but I don't think I'd want to be there either, because then where's the fun in this journey? I trust that I am making the decision every day that I need to, and I'm prioritizing myself and well-being. So if you're feeling burnt out from the hustle culture, or from the way your life is set up, or from the habits that you are doing, I want you to ask yourself, what am I doing out of habit or pressure rather than from my truth and my intuition? This awareness is the first step. So it's one thing to realize hustle isn't serving you, but making a change requires some more practical steps. So I want to walk you through some ways you can start deprogramming from the hustle culture and give you some space for an intuitive lifestyle to take shape. So here are some few steps you can begin taking that I hope will help you embrace intuitive living. The first thing that comes to mind is resetting your beliefs around success and productivity. I cannot tell you how powerful this practice is, because what we think is success might not actually be what you think success is. It's what society has told us it looks like, what productivity looks like. Society tells us that productivity means more value, that doing and creating and showing your work means you are valuable and worthy. But when you can reframe success into alignment rather than achievement, when we can start to look at success as being, I feel good and healthy and happy and whole in my life, and I have the space to go for my dreams and create things that feel good, to be a part of my community, rather than get this degree, get this achievement, get this amount of money, get this car, right? Can you tell those are two different things? But it starts to shift the way that we show up in our life, what we choose to do, and how we decide what is truly resonating for you versus what other people expect you to have to be successful. So I suggest writing down what success looks like to you. and be really truthful. Maybe it's you write down what you think success is and then take it a layer further and say, but what is actually my true success? What would a life look like day to day, year to year, to feel successful, to feel whole and accomplished? And do not let societal expectations have an influence there, unless you really feel like that is a part of your value system. Another tip would be to prioritize rest and recovery as a habit. Rest is not a luxury, it is a necessity. When you are well rested, your mind is clear, your intuition flows more easily, you're not as fatigued, you're a little bit more at ease and happy and can react with more resiliency to the challenges we often face. So make rest a non-negotiable part of your routine. Take many breaks throughout the day to breathe, reset, go for a walk, get something healthy to eat. And just note that mental health days are real. You need time to be alone, to be with your family, to just have nothing to do but whatever you need that day, and let your intuition guide you. Another one is to build healthy boundaries around your energy. A huge part of intuitive living is protecting your energy and your space. So notice what drains you, whether it's a certain task or a person or a commitment. What is stressing you out? What is getting your goat? I think there's two levels of this. There are things that stress you but are actually good for you. And then there are things that just truly stress you and are just draining you and you should not be doing. So boundaries can be tough to set at first. I completely understand that. But they will create the space for insights to come forward, for you to feel clear in your own energy, and especially in your space. So really setting intentions around what can be in your space. What do you allow in? Like I think of foods. What kind of foods will I eat? What kind of art will I have in my house? What kind of movies and shows will I watch? All of this is feeding your frequency, your mindset, your emotionality, your mood. And so really getting intentional about what you're putting in and what you're letting go out. My last tip here would be to practice small intentional decisions. So start with small choices each day so you can start to notice what it feels like to listen and get an answer from your intuitive senses. So maybe it's asking yourself, what do I want to eat today? What drive or road do I want to take? What music do I want to listen to? Who do I want to call today? Or what show do I want to watch later tonight? That's going to just make me feel so good. Does my body want movement today? Just like every moment, make a little choice. What color would feel good to wear? And just like let it be your first initial response. Do not overthink it and trust it. Because when you can practice these small intentional decisions, you build that trust muscle and you build that pathway for more insight and voice to come through. And those nudges will begin to be more noticeable. So then the more natural it will feel, the more easily you can adapt these small decisions and knowings into those bigger areas of your life, into those bigger choices that you need to make. And I think it's really fun to just make it like a game almost with yourself. Or if you notice something, write it down. Maybe you put a notes app that's intuitive nudges. Like, what did you choose? And then later in the day, at the end, look at everything you wrote down and write what was an outcome from that. Because I think the trickiest part with intuition is trusting, because we don't know what is going to happen by these choices, right? I think the really clear ones that I hate but love are when there's a glass on the table and I just kind of have this feeling. I look at it and I'm like, oh gosh, I need to move that. And yet I'm sitting there going, but I'm not done with this. Okay, I'm just going to wait. Let me finish this 30 seconds. I'll do it. And then my kid throws something, it hits the glass and it shatters on the floor, spills everywhere. And I'm like, dang it. I just was told to move that glass and I didn't do it. But if I would have gotten up and moved that glass, that toy would have been thrown. I wouldn't have fully known that that could have just happened, right? So it's like this game of trust and surety of, hey, If I get a nudge, I'm going to take action on it, and then I'm going to trust that the outcome was beautiful and supportive and good. I think I just opt to look in that way because it helps me trust myself a little bit more. So deprogramming is a journey. And I like this word deprogramming because it kind of makes me think that we can uninstall and reinstall and change and reboot and update ourselves at any time. It is possible. We aren't stuck with our thinking, our thoughts, our habits, anything in our life. We are stuck with nothing but what we are choosing. So you need to get intentional, intuitive, and start to trust your inner voice, because that is going to guide you. Even if you're like, I don't even know what to trust it on. I don't know where I'm going, what the point of this. Just set the intention that I'm going to begin listening. I want to get little signs. I want to get little ahas and help me understand what I can improve on or how I can start to feel better. And I promise you, you will start to have people or books or podcasts or things come in that begin to give you little ahas. So every time you make an intentional choice, just know you are strengthening your connection to your intuition. So my big takeaway is that in a world that glorifies hustle, making the shift to an intuitive lifestyle is a radical act of self-care and of self-love. By letting go of the constant need to do more, you are giving yourself permission to truly be, to listen, and to trust in your own guidance. Hustle culture will tell you there's no time for stillness, to rest, to wait, to not push, to not get that next rung of accomplishments or achievements. But I hope today's conversation will inspire you to embrace it anyway, to begin to believe that you can have everything you want. And you can do so in a harmonious, supportive, balanced, nurturing way. So as you go forward, remember, intuition thrives when we make space for it. So if you can, try one new habit this week that prioritizes rest, clarity, or stillness, and you'll be amazed at how much your intuition will speak up when you give it the room to be heard. Thank you for joining me on this journey towards a more intuitive life. It is such a beautiful one. It is a wild one. I cannot wait to hear from you if you begin to make these changes, to begin living and choosing and believing in things a little bit differently. The world is your oyster. You have so much potential, and I truly believe we can shift this world, this society, to one that is focused on nourishment, harmony, supportive, healthy living. And for me, it has always started with my inner voice, my gut. Everything else comes from there. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Please share any insights or questions with me. If you're enjoying these episodes, please, if you wouldn't mind, give me a review. I'd love to see what you're thinking, how you feel about this podcast, and share this episode on social with your friends. I would just love to get this message to more people because we need it. We need the reminder and we need the community to say, I see you, I get you, let's shift this world. So wishing you the best. I will be back next week. Thank you for joining me on Intuition Unlocked. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of insight, guidance, or intuitive inspiration. To dive deeper into our community and get access to exclusive content, head to my website at www.olivia-ashley.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also connect with me on Instagram at wildlyolivia for daily inspiration and updates. Remember, your intuition is your superpower. Trust it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Until next time, I'm Olivia Ashley, and I can't wait to connect with you again.